everybody.
What's going on with it?
Sunday night service, baby.
Welcome to Sunday night service. Let's just get this out the way. Both our teams suck.
I'm a loser, you's a loser.
I'm a loser. Hey, but y'all lose worse than us. Y'all lose in the most pathetic, sad ways I have ever seen.
Listen, I am a Browns fan through and through. But if I was playing against the Browns, I am throwing every ball, every play. I ain't running nobody.
Man, listen.
I'm just throwing balls the whole game.
Well, too bad we don't have a quarterback that can throw the ball. So looks like it's not going to be a problem for us.
My God, that was horrible.
Oh, man. Well, it is what it is, man.
Yes,
But welcome to Sunday night service, everybody. I want you to like, share, comment, tag. I'm going to do my own share on my phone because we got a banger of a show tonight.
Man, it's going to be the
bomb. We're going to have a fun time. We're going to send a little. We're going to send a little. I feel it.
As we get started, we want to thank our sponsor, Phillips Care Training, who are the proud owners of High Street Fitness, 277 High Street in Cortland. They run some specials. Go out, get your body right, get your Christmas body right, so you can stand out there and sing jingle bells in front of everybody with your shirt off. I don't know.
Listen. Yes, do it. Be sexy Santa. We need some sexy Santas out there, and we need them in the church too. I'm tired of all the sexy Santas being in the world. Shoot, giving the devil all your muscles and pectorals.
He said we need some sexy Santas in the church.
Isn't that what we say about everything that happens in the world? We need some in the church. We need some pimps in the church. Ooh,
I need some of that. I need some of that grape Kool-Aid from Zanzibar's in the church.
We need some purple rain.
Purple rain in the church. In a communion tray.
Everything that hops in the world, man, we try to put it in the church, man. We got to stop. Everything. No, it's all good, man.
So, man, we just got to open up, man. We got to open up. This been, and I know y'all have probably heard it all over and y'all got your own opinion, but I mean, y'all know the only opinion that really matters
is ours.
Is the religiously incorrect opinion.
Right.
So we want to open up today with the Little Mermaid.
Is that the whole new world?
No, I think that's Aladdin.
It's been a while since I had those VHS tapes.
It's all good though. It's all good.
Part of your world.
I don't know why.
I know it's part of your world, man. All I know is white people singing to each other. That's all I know. But that's not gonna be a problem anymore.
It's not gonna be a problem.
That's not gonna be a problem anymore.
She gonna add runs to it.
Listen. They got Haley Bailey. She gonna be here doing Fantasia. Right, Heaven B3. They
gonna kick off her mermaid
church service. Grandma be gonna cooking mermaid cornbread and chitlins. This is the Little Mermaid is black, y'all. The Little Mermaid is black, and white people are going nuts.
They are going nuts.
They're going insane.
They act like this is NASCAR. They act like it's a race or something. They are mad.
Oh man, you listen. I feel their pain a little bit. I feel their pain a little. You know why? Because we're taking everything from them, man. We took tennis. We took golf. We about to take hockey. You see a couple black brothers out there.
Is it?
Oh, man, yeah, they out there like...
They don't want no brothers in hockey.
Man, they out there skating the Scarface.
We throw them blows
They
for
out
real.
there skating to blow the whistle and stuff in the middle of that. Yeah, it's crazy. But, I mean, the Little Mermaid is like they're a Disney icon, man. I mean, red hair, not just blonde, red hair, you know, and it's everything's being taken from them. That's what you got to say.
Well, here's the point. Nobody got upset when they turned Jesus black.
Man, they turned Jesus
black.
Nobody
got upset when they had Moses.
Gandhi was white. Gandhi was played by white
Everybody
people.
was white.
That last Moses movie.
Yeah, that's
remember
what
that
I'm
last
saying.
Moses. They turned Moses white. Remember that NBC Noah movie? You remember the NBC miniseries Noah? All the characters are white. Yeah, I'll never forget it, man, because they just started adding like speedboats to it and stuff. It was like other people on boats showing up. Like, wait a minute. But the worst part was that they was all white. So yeah, it's the outrage. But so here's my point. Number one, these are fictional characters that are not even based on any real
color.
Yeah,
race.
I mean, I think, you know, like in the original fable or whatever, I guess it was, but these are cartoons.
Well, no. Here's the thing. This particular, why you have it? Who said it?
Pastor Jimmy had showed up.
What did he say?
He said somebody said black dudes in hockey are skating around without a stick, just waiting to check somebody.
I wish a nigga would.
Right. Jimmy knows. That's my Westlaw buddy. He knows all about it.
But here's the thing. They were supposed to be in the Atlantic Ocean. That's right. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Is what happened in the transatlantic black people. That's why
a lot of black ones were thrown overboard.
That's why that little Jamaican crab, and he got the little Jamaican.
So okay, right, you're there. They threw a lot of black bodies over those ships.
That's right.
One of them learned how to swim. One of them did. Yeah. And this is your payback. This is your get back. It is what it is. First of all, let's see. What's her name? Halle Bailey.
I think it's Haley.
Is it Halle Bailey?
Maybe it's Holly. I don't know.
Beautiful young baby. Absolutely. Beautiful young lady. She does kind of look like a mermaid. She probably got picked on for looking like a mermaid when she was young. She already had like the look. So she does fit the part. It's not like they took like Patti LaBelle and tried to make her the Little Mermaid. Now you could have made Queen Latifah the evil queen chick because she.
No,
Ursula.
I'm logging off. I'm logged. You can't talk about the queen.
She don't watch this show, man.
You can't talk about.
She doesn't watch this show, but we're gonna keep seeing this. Yeah, that's the thing.
Absolutely.
White. Let's call it what it is. Nobody that already disagrees with us really watches this. White rage is going overboard. It's going overboard. There's just nothing you can't say you're a dude that's not going to set some people off. We had the crazy train in Youngstown the other day.
Oh yeah, it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah, we had the crazy train in Youngstown. So
it was bad though. I'm riding up from the mall and they got the setup out there with the flags and stuff. And it's a brother. It was not a brother. I almost done a U-turn.
Listen,
I almost done a U-turn and took him a Wheatland Tube application right then.
A brother is gonna hustle.
Yeah, you gonna hustle, but is it at the sake of selling your?
Listen, a brother would hustle slave chains on the side of the road if he could. If he can make $1, he can be like, "Yo, you need these leg shackles, doc." Brothers go hustle. It's just in us, man.
Absolutely.
We gonna hustle. But yeah, the crazy train was in Youngstown, and I'm surprised he didn't bring up the Little Mermaid. Yeah, So what we need to do is we need to go see it.
I saw the Little Mermaid.
It is fake, by the way.
He was at Mar-a-Lago.
He was at Mar-a-Lago. She was at Mar-a-Lago.
She was at Mar-a-Lago. She's at my beautiful home.
Hey, we need to go see it. Because now they did say it was fake. They were talking about it had 1.5 dislikes on YouTube, million dislikes, like the video. They said that was fake. That's not true. But you're sure that there are some people that are going to try to boycott it. But I say we make sure we all go see it twice.
Absolutely.
And go see The Woman King.
May saltwater burn her eyes.
May saltwater burn. Pastor Tatum is praying imprecatory psalms over people who don't agree with the Little Mermaid.
We're under the sea.
That's some Isaiah judgment. That's some Jeremiah joint right there. May saltwater burn your eyes.
My God.
Yeah, we're under the sea. Let's be clear, man. We're not going to be in that frame very long because black folk don't swim. Number one, they found the one black woman willing to get her hair wet. So, it's not like there's going to be too many. It's not going to be too many. My wife ain't going to be in it.
Right.
I know.
And listen, y'all, while y'all out there going to see Little Mermaid, also stop and see, I don't even know the name of the woman.
The Woman King.
The Woman King.
Go see it.
Go see it.
We're going to see it.
I think they said it's doing great numbers right now, but go check her out. It looks like a phenomenal movie. I can't wait to go see it myself.
Well, we just might as well show it at church instead of the Passion of the Christ this year for Easter.
Hey.
We're not going to show the Passion at church. We're going to show the Woman King and Black Panther. All right, y'all. It's been real. We didn't want to be long because we got some wonderful guests. But first, we got to talk. Y'all know what time it is. Like, share, tag. It's the meme of the week.
It's meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect, ladies and gentlemen.
It's meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Thank you. Send us your memes of the week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
We are. These are all jokes. We are just playing.
What do we got? Lord, give me a sign. The Lord has sent the sign.
It will hit you right upside your head. It's been there the whole time, Doc.
Hey, this that lady in church that's knows she about to jump into a bad relationship, and this all them red flags. Mm-hmm. He ain't got no job. He didn't ask to borrow your car already.
And
He put
dropped you off at church and ain't come back.
to get you. The church van.
The deacon got to take you home.
Church van had to take you home.
Deacon Johnny, like, come on, get in the car here.
Credit in your mama name.
Reach around there and open up my door. Reach around.
Cake. Retch around.
Retch around there.
You sound like one of your deacons. Retch around there.
Retch around there.
This door to open. Hey, you ask him to come to church, he won't come. And the reason is he done messed with too many women at your church.
Right.
He ain't coming. He ain't coming. Him and the choir and had a, I love it. I love it. Send me a sign. And, that's true, man. There's people, you get aggravated as pastors. We can't say nothing, but they be asking and praying about stuff.
Oh my God.
That's just like, dude, 2 + 2 is 4.
Right.
There's your prophecy. I mean, it's like,
this makes sense.
Should I buy this Mercedes? You make $2 an hour. No. What are you waiting?
You do not. If a house is burning up, you do not got to ask what's running out.
Right. You ain't got to ask.
Should I just sit here? Lord, should I sit here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. The church.
Talk about I don't mind waiting while you're burning up. It's not the time for that. It's not the time. But it's been real. We want to thank our sponsors because we got some wonderful guests and they're all waiting to jump on and share their perspective. We want to thank Phillips Care Cleaning Service, residential and commercial cleaning. And I am a personal testimony that they do it all. I mean, carpet cleaning, floor cleaning, but I never called them for cleaning. I called them to fix my roof after raccoons have gotten up in my ceiling. So, I mean, that's what I call them for. They take care of just about everything. And I mean it. Phillips Care can make it happen for you. Call my man Fernando, 330-219-7916, or check out Phillips Care on Facebook. And while you're at it, them leaves are falling and you don't feel like raking them up. Your motor, my motor went down again. I don't feel like paying for it. I'm going to call Phillips Care and have them come take care of it. They take care of cutting, edging, trimming. They do commercial, residential. They do our building here at the studio site. They take care of things. They've been in business for over 10 years. Again, call my man Fernando. Tell him Religiously Incorrect sent you. 330-219-7916, or look up Phillips Care LLC on Facebook. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, if you'd like to be someone who promotes their brand, their message, their business on Religiously Incorrect, just send us an email, religiouslyincorrectpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll reach out to you, set you up. It's only like $1 million a week. So, I mean, it's affordable. I mean, we're at Super Bowl rates. We're at Super Bowl rates at this point. So, get in where you fit in.
Everything else is rising.
Yeah, it's inflation, Doc. It's inflation.
Well.
Get in where you fit in. I'm doing my share. I want you all to take 60 seconds, 90 seconds. I want you to do a share, tag somebody, because we are talking, you are the Father. You are the Father. Can we tell them our alternative title? What was our alternative title going to be? Bishop Paramore like this.
That's just my baby daddy.
That's just my baby daddy. He's logging off now. All right, he's logging off. He said, I didn't sign up for this. He said, I didn't sign up for this. Well, listen, we are talking spiritual sonship and spiritual father. And we're not limiting it to gender.
That's right.
But we're limiting it in a way that it is older, seasoned, hopefully, ministers, pastors, bishops in the Lord's church who take that role of mentor, guide. And I just want to say, from a personal level, if somebody asked what a spiritual father is, what would you say, Pastor Jeff? What would you say a spiritual father? Because we're hearing it all the time. That's my spiritual dad. We're calling people who are not our natural fathers dad. What's up, Pop? That's my dad. What does that mean to you when you're saying it about the people that you regard and revere in your life?
Well, first of all, I want to start us off by saying what it's not.
Okay.
Because I think so often we try to say what it is, but what it's not is these individuals are pastors themselves, they're husbands themselves, they have families that are on. They cannot call you every day. They cannot fix your every problem. They cannot preach to you and give you sermons. They can't just be they're not your genie. They're not your magic genie.
Right.
These fathers, mother, whatever you want to call them in the ministry, they are there when you need, when you call them. They might not call, they might even answer right away.
Right.
They'll call you back and they'll give you sound advice.
Right.
There are people that when you are in, I'm trying to think of the right word, you're not living right.
Oh yeah, they'll check you.
They'll check you.
They'll check you. They'll correct you.
They'll correct you. And
Right.
it's somebody you can call and actually talk to about the issues that you have in your life, and knowing it's not going to get out, knowing that it's not going to, be all around the world. So I think, those are some of the qualifications.
I see it as spiritual mentorship with a personal component.
That's good.
It's not just ministerial only. It's not just, and we know that ministry in and of itself is a social endeavor. It's an interactional. You can't minister beside somebody but so long before you become somewhat attached to their life and what they're going through. But they have a genuine concern, for your life, and you give them genuine access to your life so that you can do those things that they can do those things like correct you. I mean, because you can't just say I'm attached to somebody because I'm on staff at the church.
Absolutely.
Or I come to their conference or I'm a part of their organization, your Baptist Association. That's my president. That's my moderator. So he's my spiritual father. Nah, doc. No. I'm just a dude you pay reports to, and if you ain't registered this year, you don't get no vote. So you can spiritual father your day all day long. And I believe that it's sort of a subjugating. You're willing to yield yourself to that person in respect and in reverence. And, it is like having a mother or a father. If you have a good mother and father, for instance, I have wonderful parents, so I never exalt my spiritual, and I mean the very closest people to me. And I have some people I love very, very dearly, but they'll never be exalted over my natural parents, mainly because they're not only wonderful natural parents, but they're also great spiritual parents. Obviously, my dad's pastor. My mom, has been a first lady, and they have done a bang up job. I haven't had to run from and avoid them. I'm not like running hurt. Have I had hurts? Have I had disappointments? Have I had need for counsel even concerning your family? Yeah, that happens, but it never comes in a disrespectful manner, undercut. Let me say this before we bring our guests in, that also means that there might be times, because I'm in this situation, where there might be certain aspects of ministry. My father, doing the most wonderful job he can, may not be able to relate to certain things that I am in and affiliated with and engaging in right now. So good people being around helps to make it a good pass off. Like when I was young and had a piano player at our church who taught me and my brother how to play. At a certain point, he literally said to us, "I've taught you all I can teach you." He was limited and self-taught himself. He passed me off to some Kojic brothers who became like older brothers to us. We were always under him at our church, but we would go to their church and learn the fancy stuff, how to really kill it. But he knew his limits. So I think that's a part of it. I think the issue is that these titles are being abused.
Absolutely.
A lot of fathers are claiming sons and daughters to sort of build up a stable. Mm-hmm. And as being a young pastor and having been a young minister, you were a young minister, sometimes it feels like people want to claim you just in case you blow up one day.
Come on.
Like just in case they want to catch you when you're doing your little raw revival. You really ain't no good, but who knows? You might. Maybe. Just maybe. So I'm going to just say I said it at the beginning. I knew you was going to be something. And then, it turns into that. And then we do have some sons and daughters who running around claiming everybody. Everybody can't be your daddy. Everybody.
Every week, somebody else your daddy.
You at the TDJ's conference sat in the back row. Even the lights didn't even hit you. You know what I'm saying? You snuck in. You didn't even pay. And you got one selfie talking about this is my spiritual father. And we've all had them. People like a person might do, use that figure of prominence for what they can get.
Yes.
And then move on. So we have Pastor Jeff.
First off, we're going to start off.
Well, let's mention all three we got, because we want y'all to like and share.
Okay.
Mention all three that we got with us.
We have from the Union Baptist Church.
The Union
Baptist Church. Pastor Michael Harrison.
Oh, you got it wrong. This is Mr. President.
Mr. President.
You're going to address.
Well, you have to understand.
You're going to address our state presidents correctly.
And then we have from the EBC on the Hill, Elizabeth.
EMBC, yes, sir.
Elizabeth Baptist Church.
Hope is here.
Pastor Jay Hurd.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then we have, last but not least, the man himself.
The potentate.
Bishop Kenneth Paramore.
On his way to England. On his way to the Queen's Palace.
So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have Pastor Harrison come on first.
Yes.
Then we're going to have Pastor Hurd come on. Then we're going to have Pastor Paramore come on in that order.
And the choir's going to do an A and B selection before they preach.
In that order. So
we're going to raise an offering for each of them.
So would y'all put y'all hands together, y'all virtual hands
together.
Put y'all virtual hands together for Pastor President Michael Harrison.
Yes. What's happening?
Lord have mercy, Jesus, help us, Father. What have I done?
It's been a long day. The subject is Pastor Harrison. First of all, welcome. We don't have to give any introductions. You've been on with us. We've been on with you.
Yes.
Again, y'all know what it's about to be. We got some heavy hitters that are going to share and give insight and a little bit of laughs with us. But President Harrison, you have been around the ministry block. You've been there. You've been the young man in faith in Christ, in the church, the pastor, and you've raised some up. You have sent some out. You have had people come through the ministry. The brother sitting right next to me is one of those gentlemen that experienced being under your leadership. But we're seeing and hearing this, and probably what was always within the church, but now in the social media age, just out there in the conference age, everybody's got some sort of, even if they don't have an organization of reformation that they oversee or preside over, if you got any kind of age on you, you know, this thing is going around. And what are you seeing in the landscape? And then Pastor Jeff's going to ask some specific questions, but what are you seeing in the landscape? And as you answer, think about what should be the qualification of a spiritual father, those that you look to and what you may hope to be to others. What's the qualifications of a spiritual father?
For me, and thank you, Pastor Todd and Pastor Jeff, for the opportunity to be able to come and to be with you and your audience, as well as your other guests as well. My spiritual fathers, because my biological father was the first, and he's gone home to be with the Lord. They taught me things, whether they were in class or whether they were through behavior. And it gave me an opportunity to see what to do, what not to do, to grow, to learn when to speak, not to speak, to allow me to experience the disciplines as well as the freedoms to be and to develop into what God has preordained for me to be, because everyone needs someone to help them to discover who God is in their life and what God is calling them to be. Because when I first came to Youngstown over 27 years ago, there were three pastors that I looked up, Dr. Lee, Pastor Lonnie Simon, and Dr. E.F.E. Raines. And the reason that I did so is because I believe that these three men have walked through minefields that I was yet to go through, and they would be able to guide and to help me to try to be the best pastor in the city of Youngstown that I could possibly be. And even my own pastor, Roderick Pounds, Dr. Roderick Pounds in Akron, taught me so much, and I learned so much from them that has helped to shape and to mold what my ministry is. Not that I am their clones, but that I have picked up bits and pieces from their ministry, which brought together a tapestry that allowed me to be able to figure out who I am and how God wanted to use me in the area of not only just leading a church, but also developing sons and daughters in the ministry. So that's what I saw.
Right.
Wow. That's powerful. I had the pleasure and the honor of serving with you, myself, and they called us the Sons of Thunder, James Bowie, Judah Early, Julian Walker.
Right.
And all of us but Julian right now pastor churches. And so one of the things that, you know, was just so phenomenal working with you and under you was, and I had the opportunity, I was privileged to be your armor bearer. So just sitting in your office before the service, watching what you done, watching how you acted, watching how you interacted. And, you know, it was phenomenal.
He heard all them cuss words. he learned all the words. All of them.
My question to you is, what is your expectation of the sons?
That's good.
Of your sons and your daughters. And I'm talking about those who you really call your sons and your daughters.
Yeah,
Not just, not just the ones who say, you know, I'm Pastor Harrison's. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them I don't really own up to.
I don't play.
Y'all shouldn't have brought me on here because I'm
ain't no good, Mike.
Bishop is shaking his head.
I ain't paying no child support. I ain't paying for y'all.
My daddy used to say that if his child didn't have some characteristics of himself, there was a dead cat on the line. And so there's some dead cats that for the most part don't even reflect anything that I've ever done or imparted or been a part of. And so for the most part, I don't really get bent out of shape over them. But and there's two expectations. There's the expectation while you are at Union. While you are at Union, there was the understanding of roles and responsibilities. It was understanding what you do and don't do. Give you an example. If you're to read the scripture, you're not to preach, you're to read the scripture and sit your behind down. Those are the things, and Pastor Jeff can testify to that. Those are the things that I taught, and it provided opportunities because I learned a long time ago, the old school pastors would shame you if you got up there and did something like that. So I felt it was my responsibility to try to a certain extent to make sure that they understood the appropriate procedures and protocols. And then to develop a really good study habit, because I don't allow my preachers to know when they're going to preach until Saturday night. Why? Because they've been in training. And so they need to understand, as the old preacher used to say, one in your head, one in your heart, one in your pocket. You need to be prepared to preach at any given second. And you need to make sure it's not some popcorn sermon that you came up with that you heard somebody else do, or you went to the National Baptist Convention and picked up one and decided to read it like that. No,
leave my midnight sermons alone. My midnight sermon.
Midnight madness don't
midnight
work.
Madness.
Well. What would you say? That dog don't bark on this.
That dog don't hunt. That dog don't hunt. And all of those things, and the discipline of writing. Which for the most part, in many instances, is a lost art now, because a lot of younger preachers are in this divine moment where they actually don't need the discipline of writing, and they kind of come up with stuff that's not even biblically sound or even found in the text.
Right.
And so I spent that time in training and working with them. But then there's another expectation that once you leave me and you become a pastor, I'm not going to hunt you down. I'm not going to do any of those things. If you need me, you know where I am. If I think that you're going to fall off of a cliff, I'm going to do everything I can to keep you from doing so. But now the position changes, because just like there's a way you deal with your children in the house, and then there's another way you deal with your children when they leave the house. And so I do the same thing in that fashion. And for many of them, it works out quite well.
I love it. And there is a difference between working with grown children, you know, yes. And I'm not there yet, but I've heard, Jeff, from you, it's a little bit of a struggle. And then, you know, things have to happen. What we're seeing, even beside those who are raised up within a ministry, are people, and I can say I've been one of them, and I have found a friend, I want to say openly, having not been raised up in any of your churches or really affiliated or even really knowing any of you until I was well into adulthood and into my ministry as well. But I found friends, mentors, advice from all of you, all three of you that are on tonight. And there are people who come along from outside of your ministry and see you as that mature figure, see you as that person, you know, that obviously has the fruit that's worth asking a question or two, you know, has something that you engage yourself in a friendly manner and you let them know I'm here for you, that new young pastor in town, that new young one coming up. And what do you see in that dynamic when it's not really attached to your ministry? They never really sat in your pulpit or under you in your office, but you see the need for guidance and maybe they accept it. What do you see in that dynamic and relationship where that might grow into, hey, this young man's become like a son to me, like a nephew, like somebody I'm always going to look out for? What do you see the good pros and cons of that situation? And then we'll begin to start to engage some others.
Okay. What I've found out is that there are other ministers or pastors, for the most part, that have attached themselves to my ministry. As a matter of fact, I think right now I have about 12 pastors that consider me to be their pastor. Now, that's a different dynamic than son or daughter, but the relationship was developed through observation, through seeing what the Lord does through me. To see one of the things that I do pride myself in is organizational skills, because one of the things that is sorely missing or lacking in our churches is a level of methodical thinking and organization. If God wants to use you, it's not a thing where you sit back and go, okay, Lord, here I am. No, you need to find your gifts. You need to find what God has challenged you to do. You need to do and to sharpen the tools that God has given you. And I think when people see that, not only in the church, but in the organizations that I lead, it draws them to. Now, it doesn't draw all of them, because you have to remember, some people want to be renegades. Some people just want to be out there to do their own thing. The only thing that kind of ticks me off a little bit is that when they get in major trouble, it's my door they knock on, because they know that in the community in which I pastor, I have a certain level of credibility. And so they bring me in to bail them out. And then as soon as I bail them out, they go back to the same dumb stuff that got them in trouble. And so that, I'm telling it doesn't make sense. And so, that's usually what happens. They observe. They observe. And I'm nowhere near any of the caliber of the other preachers that you have on here. But I do know preaching, and I do know how to put a sermon together, and I do know how to present, and I do know how to deal with people, and the skills of being able to deal with different personalities without blowing them up, and me as well.
Right.
And so that's what probably draws them to me. And it develops a relationship, like what Pastor Jeff said. We're not talking every day, but when we do, it's a meaningful, it's not a gossip conversation. It's not a foolish conversation. It's a conversation about ministry. It's about help me to determine where the Lord is leading me.
Yeah. Let me just say this before Pastor Harrison gets off. When I came to Pastor Harrison's church, I was already ordained, but he still made me wait with all the rest of the ministers in training for a whole year before a whole year, Doc.
You good,
It
Doc.
was a year. Now listen, in that year, I kind of, I was kind of mad. I was a little salty, but you know what got me? When I got my license as a kid at 16 years old, I would ask my mama, can I get my car? You got your license, but that's still my vehicle.
That's it. That's it.
I drive when I tell you, you drive when I tell you, you can drive.
That's it.
So I thank you for that.
And what we have seen, and these seasoned brothers can speak to it, and what they probably should do is do a conference to teach the up and coming young pastors how to manage their pulpits and ministry staffs. Because I'm seeing folk become pastors and assistant pastors. They joined on Monday, and by Tuesday morning, they got a key. They got a desk. They're announcing, and social media is a something. It's almost as bad as these relationships with young people that day. 1 minute they're boyfriends and girlfriends, and then they're trying to scrub their Twitter after they break up and do them wrong. We're doing the same thing in the church. Some of us younger ones, so eager for help, that will claim everyone, set them up, and I mean really try to claim sonship. This is my son, this is my daughter. First of all, I'm 40. I have literal little kids at home. What I look like calling some other grown man or grown woman my son or my daughter. Pastor Jeff was with us at Agape for a season, and even though he might look to me in some ways, and we look to each other really in a mutual way, I'm never going to say, that's my son in the ministry. I mean, that's some backward sonship. I don't even feel qualified. I don't even feel qualified to be able to even claim that just yet, because I haven't matured enough. I have not matured enough and had enough experience to claim anybody. And I think God will let me know when it's there and the right people will come along with those right relationships. But I'm grateful, Pastor Harrison, that you've borne the fruit of sonship and daughters in the ministry, and it will expand far beyond your ministry. And we're grateful. If you want to hang out for a minute, we might bring you back in. But we do have our next one. I'm going to have Pastor Jeff, as long as we have our audio good. I'm going to have Pastor Jeff introduce our next to kind of continue this conversation. And again, y'all share, you tag. We got Pastor Michael Harrison, Pastor J. Dwayne Hurd, and Bishop Kenneth Paramore in the house tonight.
Absolutely.
Ready to talk to us about this. You are the Father.
Right now, we bring into the stage. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. We might
Are you hearing us, Bishop Hurd? We're making sure
Can you
he
hear
can
us
hear
now,
us.
Pastor Hurd? I don't think you hear
That
us.
sounds like a no. All right, let's try.
We're gonna try to bring him in real quick.
Let's try something. Hey, bye,
Okay,
Pastor Harrison. God bless you.
Blessed.
Y'all take a minute as we make transition. Just like the transition of it. We're gonna move further in the service. We're gonna move further. The hour is far spent. Pastor Hurd, are you there?
Can you hear us now?
Oh, we're missing it. We're missing it. Well, how about we'll come back to him and we'll see it. We'll see if he can log out, if he can type that in.
Type it in
to log out and log back in. And we'll see what the deal is. Maybe something just glitched out. We'll see if something just glitched out. But we're gonna
while he's trying to get him together.
He didn't pay that tablet bill. You can't hear my jokes, so I can say.
We're gonna bring in the Bishop Kenneth Paramore. Come on, put your hands
together. The man,
together.
the myth, the legend. Let's welcome. Let's all stand. Let's all rise. Please stand to your feet as the bishop enters into the virtual sanctuary. God bless you, Bishop.
Man, what's going on?
How you doing, Bishop?
I'm doing all right. How are y'all doing?
Man, we are well, man. We are well.
We're glad to have you.
What y'all putting in?
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. We're trying to put it out there. We're trying to share this knowledge and, keep this perspective going. The conversation, as you've been listening, has been on spiritual fathers, spiritual sons. And, one of the things that we were ending off with, Pastor, and I was making a comment with Pastor Harrison, is how quick people are to claim one another as in both manners. We got some people, and I've had the unfortunate experience and the awkward experience of older gentlemen. Maybe I just preach at their church. Then they get up in front of their congregation and say, this man's like a son to me, and begin to speak in a way that is not reflective of our true relationship. Maybe it's wishful thinking, as we said earlier, that they'd like to have a young person or a younger person in their life that they can say they have some sway, some conversation with. But what do you see in that world? Do you see some of this over eagerness to claim spiritual sons from your perspective? I'm saying among your peers, do you see some of that at work?
I think I do see some of it at work. I'm a little bit different, though. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to to the peripheral in terms of that. But to your point, I think that there is a group that want to enter into spaces way too prematurely, and to be known as elders that they just don't have the time in to serve as. I think that it's very important that we don't try to age ourselves, but instead we let God develop us. So to that point, I think that when you talk about parenthood in the faith or in ministry, I think it's like anything else. I think we have blown it out of proportion in a fever pitch to promote ourselves.
Yeah.
I when we started this conversation with Pastor Todd made a post, and I made a comment on there that, every doctor, gynecologist who delivers a baby does not claim that baby that he delivered.
Right.
He delivers the baby. That's his job, to deliver the baby. Just because somebody, what they call, quote unquote, births you in the ministry, that does not make you their father. That does not make you their. Am I correct in saying that? Am I correct in saying so? Or
I think that can apply, but I also will say this. Watch this, Pastor Jeff. Just because you fertilize a seed in a woman doesn't make you a father either.
Correct.
Wow. Yeah.
So
You're going in and
So
out,
when we
Bishop.
begin to talk about, am I back?
You're back
Am
now.
I good?
Yeah.
So when we begin to talk about parenthood, I think it's more than just delivering. It's more than just birthing. I think it's just like in the natural, who's going to stick around to raise the child?
Right.
Yeah. There it
Who's
is.
going to stick around to pour into the life? Who's going to stick around to discipline and to help and to give what is necessary to develop them and get them to the place that God wants them to be in? Because spiritual parenthood, when you say I'm somebody's father in the ministry, this is not just about claiming them. This is also about making sure they get where they're supposed to be.
Right.
To make sure that you make sacrifices to pour into them so that they become what they're supposed to become. And I think we do take that lightheartedly. I think we're looking at it more as a badge of honor than it is a burden of responsibility.
Wow.
Parenthood doesn't become a badge of honor for a while. It starts off as a burden. Even if it's an embraced burden, you guys are fathers, you know, having children are a joy, but it is a constant obligation and responsibility to pour into, to correct, to love, to nurture, to challenge. All of those things are there. And if you're not doing that as a father in ministry, you're probably not a father in ministry.
And I'm glad you brought up that analogy of our natural parenthood and parentage matching that, because I know that I knew I had some real fathers when they're talking and we're speaking the language. I'm speaking to my daughter right now. She's a freshman in high school. And I'm beginning to tell her things about, hey, it counts now. It didn't always count, but it counts now. This could determine your scholarships. This could determine your future. You want to do this. You aspire for this. Have you done this? Are you keeping up with this? And the real fathers I have in ministry are the ones who call me and check up and want to know, have I progressed? Have I made the moves? Did you do what I told you to do last time, son? Have you prepared yourself? Do you understand that this is, they really do care about those things that have to do with my future that won't necessarily benefit them directly.
Wow.
They're concerned about where I might, even if it takes me further away from them or I'm in another space or place, they're concerned about my future. They're concerned about what I'm doing in my ministry so I can be effective to the people that I will be serving that they won't serve. And they see them myself, if they claim me, if they claim you, as a reflection of themselves. So they don't want anyone that they put their name on. And by the way, for all y'all watching at home, that's where that text comes in. Lay hands on no man quickly or suddenly. That is not about watch out who pray for you when you in the prayer line, because we think that's what we talking about. Or watch out who lay hands on you. No, it's really about watch who you affirm and publicly put your name on, the name of Christ, the name of the church. So, because sooner or later, they're going to go out with the name of God and probably your name too and say, my spiritual daddy told me, and you're going to be like, hold up, you know, and I'm glad you made that analogy of having a personal concern. When I talked to Bishop Clark, who's a spiritual father to me, and then I have Ronald Fowles, who's an elder in our city. He's a retired pastor, close to my family. They asked me about my family before they asked me about my church. They asked me about my marriage.
Yes.
They asked me about me. They don't ask me, they don't do that Red Lobster talk. How you pulling them, Doc? They don't ask how many you squeezing in. I saw you.
What's your numbers like?
I saw you killing them. You were slaying them Negroes last week. They don't talk that language. They talk, how is your mind? How's your heart? How are you progressing? Have you resolved that issue you told me about last time? That's what they want to know. It's a real parentage, you know, and Jeff, you've had that experience, I know, with pastors who have a genuine concern for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to go ahead.
Here's for me. I have 183 sons and daughters in ministry. Those are real numbers. I know where 140 some of them are right now. Every year prior to the pandemic, we have a reunion called the Sons and Daughters of Kenneth Paramore. And we get together and we have class and we have sessions. We teach, we preach, we laugh and talk. We catch up and we find where we are. Of those 100 and some that I have, 13 of them are senior pastors. My situation is a little different from Pastor Harrison's because he's the president of the Baptist Convention. So he will have a lot of sons and daughters who will become grafted in by virtue of him leading the organization he leads. All of the ones that I have been organically birthed through or out of the ministry that I've pastored. And all of the sons and daughters I have, only one of them have started a church. All the rest of them have been called to church. And so when I come in contact with them, I'm dealing with them on issues of rate, like Pastor Todd just said. How's your children? So what kind of issues did you finish school? Do you need help? Do you need financial help? Because here's my thing: you cannot cover who you cannot carry. So I can't say I cover you if you get in trouble and I can't carry you.
Yeah.
You just talking. If I'm your father, and if you say you're a father in ministry and you about to get put out your house and I can't help keep you in it, you ain't no father. You just talking.
Right.
Because if I were to call my biological father, if he was living, he would move heaven and earth to make sure he got me the money I needed to keep my kids with a roof over their head.
Right.
So when we talk about the parentage of the body of Christ or the church, these are not just numbers we put up so we can brag. If we weren't on this show, you all would have never known those numbers and I would have never talked about them. But my folk, my preachers, are all over. They're doing well. And here's the other thing about being a father. One of you all said earlier, the issue is not keeping them all under your roof.
Right.
To develop them and get them where they're supposed to be.
Right.
Oh, okay, you want to move in this kind of ministry? Well, I don't do that, but my friend does. Let me make a call to my friend and put you in some good hands so you can develop that in your ministry, because I'm not going to do that. There'll never be a place for you to do that here because that's not what I'm called to. But it is biblical. It is right. It is feasible. Let me call Pastor Todd and we're going to send you over there because he can train you in that. No more than I can't teach my child how to be an engineer, so I send them to a university. I send them somewhere where they can get what they need to be who they're supposed to be. And one of the reasons, gentlemen, that we don't take spiritual parentage seriously is because we're not getting the kids or the bodies or the spirits we birth, we're not getting them to the places they're supposed to be in. We have a very bad case of arrested development in the church.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're holding people hostage to feed our egos instead of getting them where they're supposed to be. I'm sorry. I'm going to get down.
No, you there. You there.
Right on.
You know, because I'll be honest, I was raised in a small church. And we had some ministers, but then we went through seasons with my father, and people had transitioned when he became the pastor, and it was a lonely road for a while. And I would be envious of some pastors I saw in our city that had rosters full of ministers. I mean, they were just, they got 10, 20, 30 ministers on their roster. Now that I'm old and mature, and I realize that these Negroes can't preach,
right?
I wouldn't trust them with a prayer at a funeral. They can't say great. And I'm not dogging them. I'm just saying I got grown enough to see what I was really looking at. Right. Grown up. And by the way, I didn't realize this until I was good and grown and in ministry. So I'm like, well, what the heck were they doing when I was 18 and I thought they were somebody? And now I'm 35. Like, bro, you will never preach in my pulpit. These individuals, and they gather to themselves, that they pass out these titles with no strings attached, with no expectation. And then, like you said, arrest their development. And a lot of that, which could be a whole nother show, is everybody's hoping to be a preacher and a pulpiteer, as opposed to flourishing in the ministry that they might be in. It might be evangelism, it might be compassion, it might be in teaching and being somebody's head of Christian education or what have you, or denominational work. We overlook that, denominational reformational work, being an administrator. And like you said, holding hostage. You got to be up in here with me, and far beyond asking or informing that you've been invited somewhere, you know, you owe me this much, you got to do this much, make sure you say amen this much when I'm preaching to make me look good. And I'm glad you mentioned that because we don't want that. And we're going to go ahead.
I know we got to transition to Pastor Herb, but before we got, I need Bishop to answer this because I need you to talk real quick about, because when we're talking about sons in the ministry and we're talking about spiritual parents, we got to talk about what I would call grace and correction. Grace and correction. So when you're talking about correcting your sons or your daughters in the ministry or having grace therein for those, how does that work? How do as a real father, how do you cope with that? Or when you hear something that, you know, your son or your daughter was supposed to have done, or you know that they done it?
For me, man, I'm kind of like Pastor Harrison and I are birthed out of the same ministry. So we had the same spiritual father, the two of us. So a lot of our thinking, a lot of our discipline is pretty much matched because that's where we come from. For me, I believe in dealing with things directly. Now, when I was younger, I was a lot crazier when I was younger because I was, I don't know if y'all know it, I started pastoring at 24 years old.
Lord.
So I was a baby trying to pastor. And my regular prayer was, God, please don't let me mess these people up. When I mess up, let me learn from it. And please protect your church from my ignorance. I prayed that every day for years. And so I was a lot more direct. I was a lot more, you know, I was raw, man. So I would challenge people from the pulpit. I would correct wherever it went down. That's where I was going to get you at. I thank God for age and wisdom because anybody who was with me at 24, they say I'm soft at 54.
You soft.
But that's because I've learned to have more grace and grit, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
So I still think things need to be corrected, but I believe more so there's a time or a place. Some of the things I don't need to jump on, I can have Pastor Leader deal with. I can have other members of the church deal with. All correction does not have to come from the pastor or the father in ministry. Just like if you have children, you know, some of the kids will correct the other kids. You can hear them doing it.
Right.
You don't even have to insert yourself.
That's London.
They got their own little village. And they'll tell their brother or sister, hey, you mess it up. We ain't going to be able to go, you know.
Right. We ain't going to McDonald's today. I got you.
Because of you. So I've learned and to chill out a little bit and to have more grace in correction. But nonetheless, listen to this. We have to have correction in church. Without it, there's only chaos. And I don't care how young or old we are, we got to correct the things that are wrong. And I'll say this, and then I'll stop talking. But we're in an age where we want passes on everything. We call it right wrong, and we call it wrong right. And we want to be able to have passes on everything, which is why the church no longer looks like the church. It looks like a club.
Yeah.
Because we've lowered the standard to keep people in the pews. So, okay, what does it mean if you got a full church, but your full church is full of empty people?
Yes. Yeah.
You see it? And
Yes,
so
sir.
we have to get to this place where we're not afraid. You can't be a pastor and never get in trouble. You can't be a pastor and not have a group of your members angry with you at some point.
Right.
Dr. Edgar Fisher, who trained me in the faith early in years at the Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church.
My
When I
man.
first started pastoring, he taught me two things. First thing I'll share was he taught me the people who are clapping now at your installation, in about 6 months, they're not going to be for you at all. The people who didn't vote for you, in about a year, you're going to be their favorite person. Because the seasons change how people feel.
Right.
Then he told me this, make sure you stay true to who God has called you to be. He said, wouldn't it be terrible to climb the ladder of success all the way to the top and find out that the ladder was leaning on the wrong building?
Lord.
My God.
And so I've tried to stay true to myself and true to my calling and teach those who because here's the other thing, spiritual parentage, watch this, Pastor Todd, ain't like biological, the natural.
Mm-hmm.
Kids don't get to pick their parents.
Right.
Oh.
In the natural.
In the natural.
But spiritually, people have to allow you to lead them.
Yes.
Yes.
You can't make them let you lead them. And we have to understand that and take that a lot more serious. That's about 2 cents.
We appreciate you.
And that was a quarter and a half.
Listen, that was that's a deuce and a quarter is what that was. We appreciate Bishop Paramore. Y'all show Bishop Paramore some love.
I love y'all, man. I love y'all, and I'm proud of y'all.
Oh, we love you
so
very
much.
much.
Todd,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna get you because I heard you call me Suge Knight the other week. Don't think I ain't coming for you. I'm coming for you. It got back to me. I got people everywhere, Todd.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, we call Pastor Simon Charles Barkley now. So if it makes you feel any better.
Hey, that's when I was asking, could I get my get my
loans, yeah, if he get his student loans
get
paid
my
off.
Auntie Bradley loans paid off.
He was trying to get that Joe Biden deal. I said, Suge ain't giving it up. You tied to death row forever.
I heard that in the streets. I love y'all.
Love you too.
Thank you so
hey,
much.
y'all, we're going to continue the conversation. Y'all keep liking, keep sharing. Would you welcome our man, our brother, our elder, Pastor J. Dwayne Hurd? Would you bring him in and give him some virtual love? This is a preachathon right now. Pastor Hurd, how are you?
I'm good, brothers. How y'all doing?
Man, we are great, man. It's so great to see you, man.
You've
Likewise.
been listening in. You've been listening in on this conversation about spiritual fathers, spiritual sons. You know what? Just go on ahead based on what you've heard so far. What's your take on the landscape in this day and age? They talked about how they were raised under, strong men expectations, how they held expectations. What are you seeing in the landscape that concerns you? That might give you some pause that you hope that we can come to some correction when it comes to so-called spiritual fathers and spiritual sons and daughters?
Well, I just think that, it's all about the intent of the heart, the motives on both sides. And God bless Pastor Harrison and Bishop, who they covered a lot of territory. But, the scripture tells us that we have 10,000 instructors, but we have many fathers.
Right.
And we just have to be careful about running around acting like foster children or orphans, running around trying to find fathers and mothers. You just go serve, and I think the relationship will be more natural. As I look back for myself, I sat under 3 pastors: Pastor Henry Clinkscale, Bishop Jerome H. Ross in Columbus, and Bishop Von McLaughlin in Florida. And in 2 of those instances, I was looking for a father, but they weren't looking for a son.
Wow.
And how hurtful that is to be running around and daddy, and I'm not your daddy.
Right.
I'm not your daddy. So it's important just to go, to be a part. I have maybe 30 ministers, elders, pastors on a part of EMBC, and I'm not a father to all of them. I am a teacher, and we clearly define our relationship. I've had some that were eager and come in, hey, Pops, hey, I'm not your pops.
Wow.
Pastor, I love you. We don't have that kind of relationship because I may not have that to give to you. I'm not trying to be everybody's father. And I don't want everybody at this point in my life to be my father. I respect, honor, and give them their space. But I just think that we have to be careful who we call father, who we call son. And we just have to let that relationship be natural. And
Wow.
I believe as we move along in that relationship, the Holy Spirit will define the relationship.
That's
Pastor, you have a very booming, young, vibrant church, and in that you have a lot of young ministers, and so I know for a fact, love Bo to death, and he definitely has shown you and worked with you and gives you a lot of honor. How do you deal with the younger ones, those who maybe you started them off and they've came up under you, and how do you deal with those who may not have all the training that some who just come into your church, and they may have been through seminary and things of that nature? How do you deal with some of the younger sons and daughters that you have?
Well, we have programs to definitely train and to develop them. Again, that's not fatherhood. That's teaching. That's training. That's development. It's not. Now, Bo is a different situation, because Bo is one of my sons. He's probably one of the few ministers or elders that I call son and that calls me father, because our relationship, as you defined it, goes beyond the pulpit. I'm concerned. I deal with him on a daily basis. I'm working with him. I can pull him aside and say, "Hey, son, that ain't right." He get mad, but he knows I love him so much that I don't want to see him stumble. But it like I said, it's very important to allow the Spirit of God to do every relationship with every minister, an elder, or young, especially our young people, Jeff. We kind of just define it as we go. I don't want a house full of kids. I just don't. I don't mind teaching. I don't mind developing. I don't mind sharing, but I don't have the kind of ego where I have to be your daddy or I'm your father in ministry. I just think personally it's too cliche. It's too, I think we're running amok, and it's either you want something from me or I want something from you that develops these father-son relationships, and it has nothing to do. And that's why they walk away mad, angry.
Right.
I'm
glad you brought up being the type of person that sets a distinguishing, element to that. And a lot of people will just take, first of all, like you said, the cliche, the terminology of the day of, instead of just saying that's my pastor or that's who I'm under, we've just decided that we feel insignificant and we basically feel like bastards if we're not claiming. Basically, we feel like orphans. Because everybody else is claiming somebody, or I see some people around me who have a special relationship, and instead of just saying, "Hey, that's a special relationship that brother has," I know I get it sometimes from the relationship I have with my bishop. And I tell people there's a whole nother element of connection that most people don't know about between our families. Literally, he literally, my Bishop Clark, took me in beside. I wasn't even a part of his Reformation for a very long time. I had come along and he was just like, "Hey, when you get a chance, come down here." And then he had a relationship with my grandparents. He pastored my grandparents as his first church, and they took him in as a 20-something pastor. And so he just told me, verbalized to me and others, "Hey, I owe a debt to the Johnson family. And so this young man is always going to have me." There's a connection. So I didn't wedge myself up in between other brothers and sisters. And by the way, thankfully, I've met a lot of my siblings, some of those, and the secure ones,
right,
don't feel like you've wedged your way in. Where'd he come from? I've been coming to Berean for 15 years. He just came for 5 or 6 years. How come he's, and like you said, there's a means that we need to be able to back up. Pastor Tatum said, "I guess we'll keep you." I guess we'll keep you. But I'm glad that you said that, because that's the term of the day. People like myself, and some probably in your age bracket, some people feel like, "Well, if I die without kids, won't nobody be here to put on a grand display for me and claim me and put their name, keep my name going." And it's good to just say, I'm your pastor, I'm your teacher.
Yes.
I'm in a phase when people are bothered by it, where I'm like, hey, just because of where I am in life, number one, I ain't trying to be nobody's spiritual father. Number two, I only have so much energy to give.
Right.
I'm chasing 3 kids, my wife and I, we're still fairly young in ministry, 10 years this year being, that still ain't a long time. I don't care what people think. That's not a long time in the grand scheme of things. So as far as me hunting you down, especially since everybody who serves with me is older than me. So just the fact that somebody wants to be a part of the ministry and they're older than me, I'm just amazed and grateful for that. I ain't trying to make them my kids.
and you doing stuff outside of ministry, and you can't tell them meet you at Jitsos and Friends. You can't tell them meet you down at the Golden Stallion.
Meet me at Shady's real quick. We gotta take care of something.
It's amazing. Pastor Hurd said something that they run out mad, and that's one thing I want, because it to me, Pastor Todd, when somebody claims that's my father, or that's my spiritual father, and it can go on for 2-3 years, then all of a sudden, you got an attitude, you don't even like this person, or that person's ministry is fake because they didn't give you the attention that you wanted.
Well, it's just like any other relationship. And they usually have this in multiple spaces in their life where there are misplaced expectations that were not defined.
Yeah.
And as you said, Pastor Hurd, these are transactional relationships where I see someone that has a little bit of a platform and some, you're the one with the church. You're the one, I'm not saying it's yours, but you're the one with the church. You're the one that's built the ministry up. And they're like, he can put me on. Mm-hmm. And then you got some fathers saying, I need somebody with some fire. I need somebody that can expedite a service. I need somebody that's got some gifts and skills and a good name, is up and coming, and they can keep me relevant. So you got a young man saying he can put me on, a young lady. You got an older man saying they can keep me relevant and make me look fruitful. And then when I don't get called to preach at the annual service, and I don't get that, I don't get selected by my president to speak on moderator's night or the opening night of the session. Now I thought you were my father, Right. And I tell people all the time, my father was my coach in baseball. We lost all of our games, and he made me always play the worst positions nobody else wanted to play. Because he said, because I'm your dad, you don't get special treatment. You go where you're needed. You go where you're needed. So talk about that, going away mad, and maybe talk about the missed expectations and transactional nature of a lot of these relationships.
Yeah. And as you just described, because we get mad because we didn't get what we wanted. We didn't settle because we came in and forced a relationship that wasn't ever meant to be. I mean, when you come into EMBC and you acknowledge your call, if you've been ordained or if you've served in ministry, we're going to acknowledge your call. We're going to acknowledge your call. But there's training, there's development, there's, you can't come in there and don't know how to write a sermon. You can't come in there and get up and teach and don't know how to properly share the scriptures and going off on a tangent. So therefore, there has to be structure. That's the training part. That's the teaching part. We have many teachers, but we have
not many fathers. I want to build on that as we come to a close, but I'd like to bring Pastor Harrison in for one last segment, because I want to talk at the end, and Bishop would have been great, but he had to jet. But organizationally, when you become a part of, there's a lot more, and maybe just social media makes it seem like a lot more, reformations and organizations that people can be a part of. A lot of us are dually affiliated in certain ways. I'm in our national, not national, I don't really participate on the national level, but in our state convention and our regional, the Northern, of course, the Great Northern, but I'm also with I ain't coming over, Pastor Harrison. I'm gonna stay faithful. I saw that.
He closing his.
I saw that.
He's sipping his liquor.
You wrong, Doc. Now I can't have you over for at least 6 months. No, but I also have a relationship with Berean through my bishop. And thankfully, because of, even though I come from a very conservative church where under normal circumstances, y'all know second, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, they know it. They were, hey, we don't believe in bishops now. We don't believe in all. They come from that old, school Baptist. Nothing wrong with that. We all grow and evolve and learn. But there was a respect level that the whole city had for Pastor Clark because he'd been there. They know him. They don't have to wonder who this dude is that I'm calling a father. So there was a connection there. But again, people are joining sometimes 3, 4, and 5 different organizations, calling so many different people their bishops and their spiritual fathers. And I mean, at one time, intentionally, not just attending because it's a good thing to go to. I mean, literally trying to claim. What do you see in that frame? You got Full Gospel Baptist Pastor Hurd. You've got the Ohio Baptist State Convention, Pastor Harrison. And I'm sure you have members of those things, of brothers and sisters who serve. They're under other people and doing other things sometimes in the ministry. Do you see sometimes like this, let me have like 5 options and whichever one give me the most play, whichever one offers me a position, whichever one, that's the one I'm going to lean more towards. If you don't make me moderator Northern anytime soon, I'm going to slide over here and see if they'll make me assistant to the bishop at Full Gospel. You know what I'm saying? Like, where do you see that crossover? And I'll start with Pastor Hurd, and then we'll come to Pastor Harrison.
Yeah, it is. That's why you don't see me flip-flopping. Even the things or transition that happened in Full Gospel, I wasn't going anywhere. I mean, that's what I was a part of. I'm a leader. I lead my congregation. It took a minute for us to get to that place. And really, basically, we were part of the state, the great Ohio State Baptist Convention under the great leadership of Bishop. He's the real bishop, Bishop Harrison, which we respect. I grew up in the Eastern District. I grew up in the state convention, loved them. I was a part of Full Gospel, so I exposed that to my church and to the church, EMBC, and pretty much the people decided where they wanted to go because I wasn't going in to pull them out of anything and put them here, but that's where I was, and they began to love it, and they began to become a part of it. And listen, I don't want a title nowhere. I'm trying to retire. So I'm not trying to get a title anywhere. I have a title now, and I'm trying to get my resignation. I thought Jeff would stay with us so he could take my spot. He left me. Now I got to hang on and find somebody else to take my spot. But
it's coming out.
I'm just different. I'm just me. Y'all know I'm just me. I don't go for all the. I don't need to go preach nowhere. I got somewhere to preach. I don't need to go teach nowhere. I got somewhere to teach. I don't need a bunch of folk. I got a bunch of folk. I just want to do what God has called me to do. And I love Full Gospel, and I love and honor Bishop and Pastor Harrison. But I'm a part of Pastor Harrison. He undercover. He's Full Gospel as well. So praise God. And I think in his role, in I'll speak for him, not speak for him, but I know his role in Full Gospel has nothing to do with positions because he has a position. He's the president. But his role there is because of what he gets from Full Gospel. So I understand. I just think that we do have a lot of our young people out here. They're looking for the greatest, the best, and jumping from Reformation to Reformation. I'm just too old to jump now.
Right. Them knees ain't hitting like they used to. Them knees ain't hitting. Right. Pastor Harrison, tap into this as a president, and you've been around the block. You've seen it, and you've seen the explosion of reformations. You've seen the explosion, some legitimate. I mean, our brother Bishop Paramore has earned. There's a lot of brothers that's barely, still wet behind the ears and still drinking Capri Suns, talking about I'm the bishop of this and y'all my sons and all of that. What do you see in that landscape of organizational sonship and fathers?
The issue that I see is a major case of identity crises. Because for me, yes, as Pastor Hurd said, I'm duly aligned. I'm a part of the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship. I am, but my church isn't. Though my church goes to the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship. And the reason we do so, and I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, is I'm dealing with a church in a city that needs more than Old Testament survey. I need to go someplace where I can get the tools. So when we come back to Youngstown, we can effectively minister. And sometimes that's not found in other places. As the president of the state convention, we don't have those titles. And so what happens is we're noticing that a younger generation of preacher wants that title. And they might have 15 armor bearers and 10 members.
Listen.
And for whatever reason, they're okay with that. And I don't even have an armor bearer.
Right.
Due to the fact that
he's packing. That's why he's packing. That's why. That's the reason. Because he has a piece of steel and a piece of God.
And he ain't took his medicine.
And he ain't took his medicine. And he
I'm glad y'all reminded me. I need to take my pill. But it's all about what you want to do. For me, the state convention moves slower. But since we're older, and you have to deal with this thing from a generational issue, many of us that are older have a stick-to-itiveness to us that younger generations don't. They're popcorn people.
That's it.
And because we move slow, they get sick of us. But what they don't understand is many of these reformations 20 years from now probably won't even exist.
There it is.
Where what you ran away from will still be functioning.
Will still be there. That's right.
And so that's the only problem. And see, for me, most of my associate ministers are much older. And so I don't have that young generation of preachers that Pastor Hurd or even Pastor Paramore has. But the point is, I'm watching all of these dynamics take place, and I tell my pastors in the state and in the district, there's this massive competition out here now for people's time, talent, and resources.
Yes.
And so we have to make sure that what we do is effective and not get bent out of shape over the numbers. And that's the one thing that I've learned to do. And by the grace of God, the Lord has blessed us, and people are joining the district. They're joining the state. They're being a part of it because I believe that they believe we're just a little more stable than some of the other things that are going on. When I came to Youngstown 27 years ago, I wasn't looking up the young pastors. I needed the seasoned older pastors to help me. And some of these younger pastors are beginning to find this out, that they boys and they roadies are all in the same boat together. And you need somebody to be able to plug them holes so that you can make it to the other side.
Absolutely.
As we get ready and close, I just want to give a shout out to all three of these pastors.
Absolutely.
And then, first of all, I want to say this because I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm a lot better off, way better off than what I was when I was going to Pastor. When I was going to Pastor Harrison Church, I can still remember sitting in his office. And at that time, I was working construction. So I worked all summer, and I was laid off all winter. So I ain't had no money. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know how to save back then. But I was late on my rent, I think 2 months behind. And Pastor Harrison just sat down. Pastor Paramore said, you can't cover what you can't carry. Yeah. He paid 2 months. He gave me a check for 2 months rent. Never asked for it back. I'm going to get that to you, Pastor Harrison. I'll
be by Monday.
But the way my bank account is set up, my check go in on Friday. But I'm serious. That showed me how much he cared about me. And Pastor Hurd, when I was at Beulah, our air conditioner went out. Our furnace went out.
Yeah, I remember.
And Pastor Hurd was the first person to call me. He said, "Where you at?" I said, "I'm at the church." He said, "Can you meet me at Wendy's?" I can't even remember how much it was. A nice amount to help me get that back. Pastor Paramore, Bishop Paramore, when we lost the building we were in, when I first had started preaching. We lost the church we were in. We were at the Salvation Army. For some reason, we couldn't be there no more. He had recently moved into the Playhouse. He called me, said, Jeff, you come up here and you take my church. And I stayed there for about 6 months while he was at the Playhouse.
Wow.
And for free. I'm talking about men of character, men of standard.
That money's on the way too.
And then after that, he took me to the next church because he came back to his church. He took me to the next church and paid for 3 months.
Wow.
For me to stay there. Wow. So I'm talking about these
That's
guys.
Real father. Those are real.
These are real fathers
real
and real men of character and standard. So I just want to thank y'all all.
And I want to say, as a younger pastor, and we're both in that still category. You got a few years on me, but if you're gonna claim somebody, know that there's an obligation, expectation to it. And I remember one of my sister, one of my spiritual father's daughters, did what a daughter does, and I'm sure one day, hopefully, Lundy will do the same thing. She observed how many people had pulled on her father in times of need. How many people had woke him up at night with their problems, compared to how many people were willing to pay the little $75 to come to the conference once a year when it was time for him to put that on. And she said, where are all y'all at that run him ragged? Ask him to come preach at your anniversaries and your services and all across the state and the country, all you people who want to claim their name and the attachment, but then you don't want to show the honor and support that you are, bragging on and latching on to that legacy and that name. And so we have to know there's an obligation on our part to, number one, submit and be willing to hear and listen, support as we can, especially if we know we can. Don't take all the problems to a Pastor Harrison or a Pastor Hurd or my own spiritual fathers and then take all my money somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Take all my effort somewhere else. But when I get back to Warren, I'm going to be calling up the brother that helped raise me with my father and the guys that were around and gave me my first preaching opportunities. And I'm going to be leaning on them for problems. And I'm going to go to the Hampton Ministers Conference, and I'm going to go to TDJ. They don't know me at IC3 and all these other places. We have to be faithful sons and daughters, and not just people claiming someone's name or knowing that at one of our milestone anniversaries we can get a big name because we got a connection. We got to think deeper too, and a lot of this is on us.
Yes.
Hey, absolutely. I tell my kids all the time, this is on you. I was here ready to bless you. You messed up. You messed up. You're the reason we ain't going to Extreme Air today. You're the reason we ain't going to the movies this weekend. I was here for you, and so I feel that obligation. And people might say, oh man, I mentioned the Northern. I'm going to be faithful to it because they've been good to me. Unless God tells me different, I'm not going to say I'm bigger than y'all. I just got here. And even if I look at something like, I don't know, I'm going to let God be the one to decide and where our church needs to go if there were ever to be a transition. But I'm not just jumping up talking about, y'all ain't on my level because I'm this, because God knows how to switch up levels real quick. Some of us who have these little seasons and we think everybody else is older and out of touch and all this. What Pastor Harrison said was great. Pastor Hurd, I know he shares that. The stability and the wisdom and the knowledge that you can get from seasoned ministers is second to none. Absolutely. And if you're going to get you a good one, not a fly-by-night. I'm not going to say no names, bear no blame, but there are some names even nationally. Everybody's trying to attach themselves to newer voices and names. Newer voices and names. Everybody wants to be this and that and attached to a certain style. We don't know how this story is going to end yet. You need to be careful whose book you write yourself into. Well, you need to be careful whose book you write yourself into. Any final words, Pastor Hurd, and then Pastor Harrison?
Well, I just want to thank you guys for letting the old man be a part of this broadcast. Appreciate it.
The fact that you called it a broadcast just lets me know that you called. He said thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your radio show.
I wasn't gonna say that, Pastor. I was gonna let you.
We're gonna start calling it WRIP on your radio, sponsored by Camel Cigarettes. That's Newport Smooth.
Yeah, I'm wrong for that. Well, when you said that, when you kept referring to us as being seasoned.
That's the nice way.
That was I already had a problem with that. Okay?
You already had a problem. My apologies. We appreciate you too. Dr. Harrison. Dr. Harrison.
The one thing that I want to leave, and thank both of you for the opportunity to be able to come on and share. My father, my biological father, used to say something to my brother and I all the time. He would say, as my sons, I always want you to be better than me.
Yes.
And as a father or a pastor in the ministry, the one thing that we always desire is that our sons and our daughters excel way beyond where we are, because we are just a stepping stone in the process of their development. So again, to the two of you, thank you so much for the podcast. Pastor Hurd will beat me down later for that.
Yeah, he'll get you later.
But again, to the two of you, you're constantly in our prayers. You guys kind of step out there on stuff, and I thought I was the only person that needed medication, but I now know that there are two others that need to stand in the pharmaceutical line as well.
Yes,
so thank you so much from the depths of my heart for allowing
Thank you.
me.
Before we close, Pastor Hurd, is them braids in your hair?
Oh man, he rocking them.
Is them?
I'm getting ready to log right up out of
He
here.
joined Suge Knight's Death Row label. You happen to Bishop Paramore?
Him and Bishop Paramore.
They are twists. They are dreads.
Twists.
They twist.
Dreads.
Dreads.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
All right.
I thought Death Row got you. I thought Suge and Death Row got you. Big Mike, what you want to say, Big Mike?
First, I want to thank Pastor Hurd, Pastor Harrison for coming on, blessing us on tonight. Really enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate you guys. We're definitely going to have you back on. Two, are we having a show next week? I know.
What is next week?
Pastor Todd is.
Oh yeah.
Your anniversary.
Hey y'all, it's my 7th anniversary.
We're doing.
Well, none of us invited. Please.
Yo, let us.
Well, none of us invited.
I'm about to throw my secretary under the bus. Them letters are supposed to be in the mail.
Are we doing an after party show or?
I don't know. Let me. We'll have to talk to the wife. I had to get permission.
All right.
I had to get permission first.
All right.
I had to get permission first. I want to go home at night, and I don't want her taking the offering box. This is an important night. Got to keep the old lady happy.
Also, to our viewers, don't forget you can download our audio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, you name it. We are there.
Absolutely. This is a good one. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It's been a great night. We have heard some great words from great men. And we appreciate you, brothers. We all know you're always friends of the show, and you're welcome anytime to come and share your wisdom, your knowledge, and a little bit of crazy. And we appreciate it. So until next time, y'all, come and check us out for Sunday night service. God bless you, and God keep you.
Peace.